Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Mass Effect. This time just the lore. Anyway, I guess we'll start off with secondary, like technology and stuff, and then move on to him talking. We've already looked at biotics, but life is a biotic. Biotics possess extraordinary abilities, but their most live with minor inconveniences. The most obvious issue is getting adequate nutrition. Creating biotic mass fields such as takes such a toll on the metabolism that active biotics develop ravenous appetites. Standard Alliance combat ration for a soldier with is 300 calories per day. Biotics are given 3,000 calories per day. Biotics are given 4,500. As well as a canteen of potent energy drink for a quick refreshment after a hard combat. Another issue is the electronic charge. Electricity accumulated on a starship drive cores must be discharged, and so must the electricity of a biotic user. Biotics are prone to small static discharges when they touch metal. Unfortunately, human biotics also face the suspicion and prosecution being with the popular misconception that they can read and control minds. Biotics symbolize the dehumanization of mankind to people. Physiology and religiosity oppressed to gene modification in cybernetics. Militaries are the only organization that welcome biotics, offering them huge recruitment incentives. Communications methodology. As population in the galaxy increases, new worlds are settled. Timely access to home users and the frontier settlements under development communication infrastructures is a growing problem to rates, bandwidth issues. A sophisticated array of data caches and virtual intelligence search agent programs are available. When a user submits a query, it is first routed to the data cache on their colony or star system. At the cache, the user search agent VI correlates mountains of locally stored data to find the desired material. If the information is not available locally, the query is then passed along to the neighbouring systems, and then outward as an expanding network. VI search agents in those systems replicate the search. If the desired information is found, then it is compressed into a burst file and queued for transmission to the source system. The burst is assigned a priority based on the number of queries for it. The greater the number of queries, the higher the priority. When the solar system is first connected to the net, the selection of the most popular data is installed locally. Though storage hardware is cheap, the capacity required to hold all the data produced every day by trillions of people on hundreds of worlds is not trivial. It's not economical to store local copies of all data available on obscure topics just in case. As colonies mature, older and less popular chunks of data filter into them as a result of queries and are placed in the local archive. Searches for obscure topics are increasingly likely to produce instant results as the archive grows. Ships and vehicles. FTL drive charge. As a positive and negative electric current passes through the FTL drive core, it acquires a static electrical charge. Drives operate with an average of 50 hours before they reach the charge saturation limits. This charge is proportional to the magnitude of the mass reduction. A heavier or faster ship reaches saturation much more quickly. If the charge is allowed to build, the core will discharge into the hull of the ship, and all ungrounded crew members fry to a crisp. All electronic systems are burnt out, and the metal bulkheads may be melted or fused together. The safest way to discharge a core is to land on a planet and establish a connection to the ground, like a lightning rod. Larger vessels like dreadnoughts cannot land and must discharge into planetary magnetic fields. Oh, that is funky. How? Okay. The ship passes a charge from the drive core to the exterior of the hull, and then dives into the magnetic field. Oh. I don't understand how that's going to discharge a hull, but sure. As the hull discharges, sheets of lightning jump away into the field, creating beautiful auroral displays into the planet. The ship must retract its sensors and weapons while dumping charge to prevent damage, leaving it blind and helpless. Discharging on the moon is a Discharging at a moon with a weak magnetic field can take days. Discharging in a powerful field of gas giant may take less than an hour. Deep space facilities such as the Citadel often have special discharge facilities for visiting ships. Okay. Space combat general tactics. Shells lofted by surface navies crash between the Earth. Wait, what? Shells lofted by surface navies crash between the Earth and when they are accelerated by I'm sorry, I'm failing miserably. Shells lofted by surface navies crash back to Earth with the acceleration when their acceleration is overwhelmed by gravity and air resistance. In space, a projectile has unlimited range. It will keep moving until it hits something. Practical gunnery range is determined by the velocity of the target's ordnance and maneuverability of the target. Beyond a certain range, a small ship's ability to dodge trumps a large ship's ability attacks projectile speed. The longest range combat occurs between dreadnoughts, whose projectiles have the highest velocity but are the least maneuverable. The shortest range combat is between frigates, which have the slowest projectile velocity and the highest maneuverabilities. Sorry, I'm just trying to think. That is difficult then. So frigates find it hard to hit other frigates because they're both maneuverable and have really slow projectile velocities. Wouldn't it just be better to mount a frigate with a bunch of lasers in to cook the enemy? Whatever. Opposing dreadnoughts open with the main artillery duel at extreme ranges of tens of thousands of kilometers. The fleets then close and maintain evasive lateral motion while keeping their bow guns facing the enemy. Fighters are launched in an attempt to close to disruptor torpedo range. Cautious admirals weaken the enemy with ranged fire and fighter strikes before they commit to close action. Aggressive commanders advance so the cruisers and frigates can engage. At long range, the main guns of a cruiser become useful. Friendly interceptors engage enemy fighters until the attackers enter the range of ship-based guardian fire. Dreadnoughts fire from the rear, screened by smaller fighters. Commanders must decide whether to commit to a general melee or retreat into FTL at this point. At medium range, ships can use broadside guns. Fleets intermingle and it becomes difficult to order a retreat. Ships with damaged kinetic barriers are vulnerable to the Wolfpack frigate flotillas that speed through the battle space. Only fighters and frigates enter close knife fight ranges of 10 or fewer kilometers. Fighters loose their disruptor torpedoes and bring down ships' kinetic barriers, thus allowing them to be swarmed by fighters. Guardian lasers become a valuable weapon. Wait, what? And allowed to be swarmed by frigates. Guardian lasers thus become viable weapons, swatting down fighters and boiling away warship armor. Neither dreadnoughts nor cruisers can use their main guns at close range. Laying the bow on a moving target becomes impossible. Superheated thruster exhaust becomes a hazard, though. Ugh. Ablative armor. Warship's kinetic barriers reduce the damage taken from solid objects, but they cannot block guardian lasers or projectile weapon or particle beams or other forms of directed energy weapons. DAL. The inner layer of a warship protection consists of ablative armor designed to boil away when heated. The vaporized armor material scatters DAL beams, rendering them ineffective. A scaffold is built around the interior pressure hull, with sheets of ablative armor hung from the structure. Ships typically have multiple layers of armor separated by empty baffles, spaces often used for cargo storage. Cruisers, which lack the internal space to fit dedicated fighter hangars, store the starboard fighter complement in the baffles. It is unknown for enlisted crew to be. Wait, what? It is not unknown for enlisted crew to build illicit alcohol distilleries in some obscure corner of the baffles, safe from prying eyes. Weapons: disruptor torpedoes. Disruptor torpedoes are paired projectiles with warheads that create random, unstable Mass Effect fields when triggered. These fields warp space and time in a localized area. Rapid asymmetrical mass charges cause the target to rip itself apart. In flight, torpedoes with a mass use a mass increasing field, making them too massive for enemy kinetic barriers to repulse. This extra mass gives the torpedoes a very sluggish acceleration, making them very easy prey to defense guardian weapons. So torpedoes have to be launched at very close range. And what? No, what you just do is you set the Mass Effect field to lighten the load, and then once it's in close, you then make it really whatever. Torpedoes are the main anti-ship weapon used by fighters. They are launched from point-blank range in ripple fire waves, reminiscent of ancient Calliope rocket artillery launchers. Thus their popular name, Callies. By saturating defensive guardian systems with multiple targets, at least a few will get through. Oh, makes sense. But no, you just set the Mass Effect field to lower the weight, get the thing right up close, and then, shift it back up. Anyway, bringing down the sky, transition. Technology, translation. Okay. Human cultures remain logistically divided. Some converse in Spanish, others in Mandarin even, Arabic, Swahili, etc. Even alien races have their own equally broad panoply of languages and dialects. Most individuals know only their mother tongue and rely on machine translation. Modern portable computers allow anyone with a few hundred credits of equipment to enjoy seamless real-time translation of alien languages, courtesy of handheld PDAs, computers in clothing or jewellery, or subdermal implants. Without fast and accurate translation, galactic trade, culture could not exist. Governments provide subsidized software updated through the public extranet on the fly, often as users approach the spaceport, customs facilities, and even the Batarians, who isolate themselves from the galactic society nearly 2 decades ago, take pains to provide up-to-date glossaries and linguistic rules. Though most suspect that this is only so they can continue exporting propaganda. Update Pinnacle Station. Technology of the combat simulator. It is in the absence of realistic terrain or equipment, military organizations will often make use of the combat simulators as a method of training soldiers for a variety of combat environments. Holographic projectors are used to recreate a visual representation of opponents and objects. Kinetic barriers are then cast upon these objects to prevent participants from passing through the obstacles and terrains. Kinetic barriers are also used to simulate weapon damage and shockwaves. However, while most trainees argue that the pain is the best teacher, all government sponsors and combat simulations are required to make use of the extensive safety protocols to prevent any serious injury and permanent damage to the participants. Pinnacle Station. Pinnacle Station is a touring station that has been retrofitted as a military training facility in the Citadel. Invitees are participating in a series of simulated combat encounters and combat against other participants. Prefabricated structures. When colonizing the planet, corporations will often make use of prefabricated or prefab structures to quickly and easily deploy a base of operations. These residential structures are feature full living quarters and are a large solarium from which the residents may observe the planet's surface. While most human colonies have support of the Alliance military and other corporate-sponsored defense contractors, many civilian colonists choose to keep a small stock of armaments at their home. These weapons are last resort, but will often be critical to staving off a pirate attack until support arrives. Aliens, the Citadel Council races even. Asari military doctrine. The Asari military represents a collection of tribal warrior bands with no national structure. These committee organizations organize their own unit as the locals see fit and elect leaders to command them. Units with populous cities and are large and well equipped, while those from foreign villages may only have a few women with small arms. There is no uniform. Everyone wears what they like. The Asari military is not a regular militia. However, those who serve for full-time... those who serve are full-time professionals, okay. The average Asari huntress in the maiden stage of her life has devoted 20 or 30 years to the study of the martial arts. Asari choose to be warriors at a young age, and their education is decided to sharpen their mind and body for the sole purpose. When they retire, they possess an alarming proficiency for killing. Huntresses fight individually or in pairs, depending on the tactics preferred by their town. One-on-one, a huntress is practically unbeatable. Possessing profound tactical insight, a hunter's eye, and a dancer's grace and alacrity. Biotics are common enough with the capability Biotics are common enough that some capability is a requirement to be trained as a huntress. Lack of biotic talent excludes young Asari from being military service. While fluid and mobile, Asari cannot stand up to the firestorm the way a Krogan, Turian, or human could, since their units are small and typically lack the heavy armor and support of weapons. They are almost incapable of fighting a conventional war, particularly one of a defensive nature, so Asari units typically undertake special operations missions. Unlike like an army of ninja, they are adept at ambush, infiltration, and assassination, demoralizing and defeating their enemies through intense focused guerrilla strikes. As a popular Turian saying puts it, the Asari are not the finest warriors in the galaxy, unfortunately. The Asari are the finest warriors in the galaxy. Fortunately, there are not many of them. The Asari religion. The fantastic mainstream Asari religion is Siari, which translates roughly as one is all is one. The faithful agree on certain core truths in the universe's consciousness. Every life within is an aspect of the greater whole. And death is merging with one of the spiritual energy back into the greater universal consciousness. Sariists don't specifically believe in reincarnation. They believe that spiritual energy is returned to the universal consciousness upon death and will eventually use to fill a new mortal vessel. Sari became popular after the Asari left their homeworld to discover their ability to meld with nearly any form of life. This ability is seen as proof that all life is fundamentally similar. Asari priestesses see their role as predominantly unity between the disparate shards of the universe's awareness. Before the rise of the Asari pantheism, Asari religions were as diverse as the political opinions. The strongest survivor to these days is a monotheistic religion worshipping the goddess Athemia. Like the Asari, the goddess cycles through the three aspects of the maiden, matrion, and matriarch stages. Selenium's biology. Seleniums are noted for their high speed of metabolism, which allows them to function on just 1 hour of sleep per day. Their minds and bodies work faster than most sapient races, making them restless and hyperactive. The drawback is the active metabolism is a short lifespan, around 40 human years. The Solarians are amphibian, hopodiploid egg layers. Unfertilized eggs produce males. Wait, what? Unfertilized eggs produce males, and fertilized eggs produce females. Oh, okay. Huh. That is weird. Anyway, once a year, a Solarian female may lay a clutch of a dozen eggs. Social rules prevent all but a fraction from being fertilized. As a result, 9% of the species is male. Solarians have the photographic memories and rarely forget a fact. They also possess the form of psychological imprinting, tending to defer to those they know in their youth. A Solarian hatchling is a seldom ritual in which the clan dearess, matriarch, isolates herself with the eggs. The young Solarian's physiology imprinted on her and tend to defer to her wishes. During the hatching of daughters, the deatress of the mother, the father's clan, and the father's clans are present at the imprinting. This ensures that the offspring will have equal loyalty to both, ensuring that the desired dynastic and political unity. Okay. Solarian's government. The Solarian government is called the Solarian Union. It is a labyrinthian web of maternal bloodlines with political alliances formed throughout the interbreeding. In many ways, the Solarian political network functions like a noble families of the Earth's medieval Europe. Structurally, the government consists of fiefdoms, baronesses, duchesses, and planets and marches of colonization clusters. These are human nicknames. The original Solarian is unpronounceable. Each area is ruled by the single Daltress, the matriarchal head of a house, and is represented by an increased amount of territory and prestige, with Solarian political web. Approaching 100 members, the first cycle of the Solarian's clan composes of parents, siblings, uncles, aunts, and cousins. The next cycle includes the second's cousins, etc. This escalates well over to 1,000 members, the fourth or fifth cycle of the clan into the millions. Solarian loyalty is the greatest of the first cycle, diminishes from there. Okay. Their photographic memories allow Solarians to recognize all their myriads of relatives. Solarian's military doctrine. The principle of Solarian military is similar to the Alliance, a smaller volunteer army that focuses on maneuverable warfare. What differentiates the Solarians is not their equipment or doctrine, but their intelligence services. The rules of engagement. The Solarians believe that war should be won before it even begins. Conventional wisdom holds that Solarians know everything about everyone, and that is not far from the truth. In war, the unquestioned superiority of their intelligence services allows them to use the smaller military with maximum effectiveness. Well before fighting even breaks out, they possess the complete knowledge of their enemy's positions, intentions, and timetable. In every war the Solarians have fought, they struck first without warning. For the Solarians, to know an enemy plans of attack and to let it happen is folly. To announce your own plans and attack is insanity. They find human moral concepts of do not fire until fired upon and declare war before prosecuting it incredibly naive. In defensive wars, they execute devastating preemptive strikes hours before the enemy's own attacks. In the offense, they never telegraph their intentions with declaration of war before attacking. Biotics are virtually unknown to the Solarian military. Those with such abilities are considered too valuable to be used as cannon fodder, and are assigned to the intelligence services. While capable of defending themselves against most threats, the Solarians know that they are the small fish of the universe, filled with sharks. At this point, as a point of survival, they have cultivated strong alliances with larger powers, particularly with the Turians, though the relationship between the two species is rocky at first due to... I missed my place. Was rocky at first due to the Krogan uplifting fiasco. The Solarians take pains to keep the relationship strong, but that anyone might threaten them risks a Turian intervention. Turian's biology. The Turian homeworld of Palavian has a metal-poor core generating a weak magnetic field, allowing for more solar radiation into the atmosphere. To deal with this, most forms of life on Palavian evolved some sort of metallic exoskeleton to protect themselves. Their reflective plate-like skins make the Turians less susceptible to long-term, low-level radiation exposure, but they do not possess any sort of natural armor. A Turian's thick skin does not stop projectiles or directed energy bolts. Though life on Palaven is carbon-based and oxygen-breathing, it is built on dextro amino acids. This places the Turians in a distinct minority of the galactic stage. The Quarians are the only other known sapient dextroprotein race. The foods of humans, Asari, or Solarians, who evolved in a levo amino acid-based biosphere, will at the best pass through the Turian system without providing any nutrition. At worst, it will trigger an allergic reaction that can be fatal if not immediately treated. Turian's government. The Turian government is a hierarchical metocracy. While it has great potential for misuse and is tempered by civilian duty and it is tempered by civic duty and personal responsibility, Turians learn from childhood. Turians have 27 citizenship tiers, beginning with civilians, client races, and children. The initial period of military service is the second tier. The former citizen is conferred into the third tier after boot camp. For client races, citizenship is granted after an individual musters out. What? After the individual musters out. I honestly don't know what that means. Higher ranked civilians, or citizens even, are expected to lead and protect subordinates. Lower ranked citizens are expected to obey and support superiors. Promotion to another tier of civilization, citizenship is based on the personal assessments of one's superiors and co-rankers. Throughout their lives, Turians ascend to higher tiers and occasionally are demoted to lower ones. The stigma associated with demotion lies not in the individual, but on those who promote him when he was ready for additional responsibility. Oh. This curbs the tendency to promote individuals into positions beyond their capabilities. Setting into the role and rank is not considered stagnation. Turians value knowing one's own limitations more than being ambitious. At the top, the Primarchs, who rule a colonization cluster. The Primarchs vote on matters of national importance. They otherwise maintain a hands-off policy, trusting the citizens on each level below them to do their jobs competently. Turians enjoy broad freedoms, so long as one complies to his duties and does not prevent others from completing theirs. Nothing is forbidden. For example, there is no laws against the recreational drugs use, but if someone is unable to complete their duties due to a drug use, his superiors will step in. Judicial processes of intervention, the judicial proceedings are interventions. Peers express their concerns and try to convince the offender to change. If rehabilitation fails, Turians have no qualms for sentencing dangerous individuals to life of hard labour at the state. Turian religion. Though Turians have strict moral codes, their belief in individual responsibility means that the concepts of good and evil are simply the individual's choice between egotism and altruism. In any given decision, they have no concept of good deities and encourage noble behavior or evil ones that encourage noble behavior, or evil ones that tempt individuals to misdeeds. Turians believe that groups and areas have spirits that transcend the individual. For example, a military unit would be considered to have a lateral spirit that embodies the honour and courage it has been displayed. City's spiritual spirit reflects the accomplishments of the industry and residents. An ancient tree's spirit reflects the beauty and tranquility of the area that it grows within. These spirits are neither good nor evil, nor are they appealed to for incession. Intercession. Turians do not believe that spirits can affect the world, but spirits are inspired by the living. Prayers and rituals allow an individual to converse with the spirits for guidance and inspiration. For example, a Turian who finds his loyalty tested may appeal to the spirit of his unit, hoping to reconnect with the pride and honour of the group. A Turian who wishes to create a work of art may attempt to connect with the spirit of the beautiful location. Turians enjoy absolute freedom of religion and can practice whatever appeals to them, so long as it does not impede anyone else's ability to perform their duties. There are many practitioners of an Asari seriousness philosophy. Since opening dialogue with Human Systems Alliance, some Turians have embraced Confucianism and Zen Buddhism. Huh, interesting. Aliens, extinct races? Merge ruins. After 20 years of manned research outposts, nearly a century of robotic exploration, and the European Space Agency's Lao City became the first permanent settlement on Mars in 2103. Within a decade, the United States and China had founded a permanent settlement as well. The south polar region of Promethea Palatium was developed Bermuda Triangle reputation. Satellites detected intermittent mass concentrations and magnetic field shifts. In 2148, prospectors working near Dedo crater discovered an underground complex, a Prothean observation post, an old phenomena. The old phenomena were generated by the operation and dischargation of mass effect cores, struggling to operate despite 50 millennia of neglect. Oh, okay. Earth was electrified by the news. Humanity was unequivocally not alone. While courts battled over who owned the ruins, the international scientific community coordinated a massive effort to access and translate and interpret the banks recovered from the facility. The facility proved that the bioscientists' observations post was built on the Homo sapiens were first evolving on Earth. While the motives of the Protheans are not certain. Translation records occurred in the facility was in regular communication with the automated observation posts on platforms on Earth and in the Luna near side. The half-dozen Mass Effect spaceships found in the facility were presumed used for first-hand observation. Non-council races. Krogan Culture. The harsh Krogan Homeworld conditioned the Krogan physiology for toughness as it did their body. Krogan have always had a tendency to be selfish, unsympathetic, or brute. They respect strength and self-reliance and neither surprised nor offended by treachery. The weak and selfless do not live long in their culture. Looking out for number one is simply a matter of course. After their defeat in the rebellions, the very concept of the Krogan leadership was discredited. Where a warlord could once command enough power to bring entire solar systems to heel and become overlord, these days it is rare for a single leader to live more than 1,000, to have more than 1,000 warriors swear allegiance to him. Most Krogans trust and serve no one but themselves. This solitary attitude stems in part from their deep sense of fatalism and futility, a profound social effect of the genophage that caused Krogan numbers to dwindle to a relative handful. Not only are they angry that the entire galaxy seems out for them, the Krogans are also generally pessimistic about their race's chances of survival. The surviving Krogans see no point in building for the future. They have no future. The Krogan live with the attitude of kill, pillage, and be selfish, for tomorrow we die. Humanity and the Intersystems Alliances. Sorry, I was looking around because I thought I heard the cat. Systems Alliance Military Doctrine. The Alliance military is of great concern to the Galactic Council. The first contact with the Turians, they were completely inexperienced. The Turians' disdain changed to respect after the relief of Shang-Chi, where the humans surprised them with novel technologies and tactics. The human devotion to understanding and adapting to modern space warfare stunned this salted council races. For hundreds of years they had lived behind secure walls and long-proven technologies and tactics. The Council regards the Alliance as a sleeping giant. Less than 3% of the humans volunteered to serve in their military, a lower proportion than any other species in the galaxy. While contempt, the Alliance soldiers are neither as professional as Turians nor as skilled as the Asari. Their strengths lie in fire support, flexibility and speed. They make up for their lack in numbers with sophisticated technologies, VIs, drones, artillery, electromagnetic warfare, electronic warfare, and their emphasis on mobility and individual initiative. Their doctrine is not based on absorbing and dishing out heavy shocks like the Turians and Krogan. Rarely they bypass enemy strong points and launch deep into the. Rather, they bypass enemy strong points and launch deep into their rear, cutting supply lines and destroying headquarters and support units, leaving enemies to wither on the vine. On defense, the human military has a rapid reaction force that lives by Sun Tzu's maxim: "He who tries to defend everything defends nothing." Garrisons are intended for scouting rather than combat, avoiding engagement to observe and report on individuals using drones. The token garrison of human colonies make it easy for alien powers to secure them, for which the Alliance media criticizes the military. However, the powerful fleets stationed at phase gate nexuses such as the Arcturus are just a few hours or days from the colony within their sphere of responsibility. In the event of an attack, they respond with overwhelming force. Huh. But you know what? Just because this is going to be the last lore, I'm going to let it run over for a bit. So, let's go.
Mass Accelerator propels a
I'm going to
solid
be
metal
quiet.
slug using precisely controlled electromagnetic attraction and repulsion. The slug is designed to squash or shatter on impact, increasing the energy it transfers to the target. If this were not the case, it would simply punch a hole right through, doing minimal damage. Accelerator design was revolutionized by Element Zero. A slug lightened by a mass effect field can be accelerated to greater speeds, permitting projectile velocities that were previously unattainable. If accelerated to a high enough velocity, a simple paint chip can impact with the same destructive force as a nuclear weapon. However, mass accelerators produce recoil equal to their impact energy. This is mitigated somewhat by the mass effect fields that rounds are suspended within. But weapon recoil is still the prime limiting factor on slug velocity.
After all, you don't want to rip your arm off.
Biotics is the... Mass relays are feats of Prothean engineering advanced far beyond the technology of any living species. They are enormous structures scattered throughout the stars and can create corridors of virtually mass-free space, allowing instantaneous transit between locations separated by years or even centuries
not
of travel
instantaneous.
using conventional FTL drives. Primary mass relays can propel ships thousands of light years, often from one spiral arm of the galaxy to another. However, they have fixed one-to-one connections. A primary relay connects to one other primary relay and nowhere else. Secondary relays can only propel ships across a few hundred light years. However, they are omnidirectional. A secondary relay can send a ship to any other relay within its limited range. There are many dormant primary relays whose corresponding twins have not yet been located. These are left inactive until their partner is charted, as established civilizations are
silly.
unwilling to blindly open a passage that might connect them to a hostile species.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Anyway,
Ships and vehicles.
Faster than light drop,
Sovereign.
Sovereign is the flagship of the rogue Spectre's Sarin. An enormous dreadnought larger than any other ship in any known fleet, it is crewed with both Geth and Krogan. At 2 kilometers long, its spinal-mounted main gun is likely capable of penetrating another dreadnought's kinetic barriers with a single shot. How Sarin acquired this incredible warship is unknown. The prevailing opinion is that Sovereign is a Geth construct, while others believe it is a Prothean relic. Its design, however, hints at a more alien and mysterious origin. The attack on Eden Prime demonstrated Sovereign's ability to generate mass effect fields powerful enough to land on a planetary surface. This implies it has a massive Element Zero core and the ability to generate staggering amounts of power.
Indeed. Planets and locations.
Pharos is a habitable world, like the ancient human city of Troy. Ilos is a world known only through second-hand sources. References to Ilos have been found at several other Prothean ruins, though direct study of the world is unlikely to occur. Ilos lies in a remote area of the Terminus systems, only accessible by the legendary Mu Relay. 4,000 years ago, the Mu Relay was knocked out of position by a supernova and lost. Since then, Ilos and its cluster have been inaccessible. Occasionally, a university will organize an expedition to chart a route to Ilos using conventional FTL drive. These never get beyond the planning stages due to the distance and danger. The journey could take years or decades, passing through the hostile Terminus systems and dozens of unexplored systems.
It's actually getting fascinating. So the mass relays can actually survive being in a supernova. Anyway, planet's Virmire.
Virmire is a lush world located on the frontier of the Attican Traverse. Its vast seas and orbital position on the inner life zone have created a wide equatorial band of humid, tropical terrain. Only the political instability of the region has impeded efforts at colonization. Many times the Citadel has opened negotiations to settle Virmire with various criminal gangs and petty dictatorships in the nearby Terminus systems. All fell apart due to internal power shifts within the opposing parties. The Citadel has written off the colonization of Virmire as impossible without significant political change. The Terminus powers themselves are unlikely to ever settle Virmire. Most lack the resources to support settlement of a virgin world, finding it more expedient to steal from their neighbors than build for themselves.
Anyway, I'm going to actually just let Pharos run, so if I did skip it by accident, it's there.
Pharos is a habitable world in the Attican Beta Cluster. 2/3 of the habitable surface is covered with the ruins of a crumbling Prothean megatropolis. In the millennia since the Prothean extinction, the ruins have been repeatedly picked over by looters many times. Pharos was considered a poor prospect for colonization, as little open ground remains for agriculture. The only sizable freshwater sources are the poles, which are tapped by the decaying Prothean aqueduct systems. The dead cities, while in good condition considering their antiquity, are of uncertain stability. Ground level is congested by a dozen meters of fallen debris, and the air is fouled by dust. In 2178, the Human Exogeny Corporation announced its intention to place a permanent colony on Pharos to thoroughly explore the ruins. The pioneer settlement was placed on the upper levels of several intact skyscrapers, using the surviving Prothean aqueducts and rooftop hydroponic gardens to support the population.
Extinct races.
50,000 years ago, the Protheans were the only spacefaring species in the galaxy. They vanished in a swift galactic extinction. Only the legacy of their empire remains. They are believed to have built the mass relays and the Citadel, which have allowed numerous species to explore and expand throughout the galaxy. Prothean ruins are found on worlds across the galaxy. While surprisingly intact for their age, functioning examples of Prothean paleotechnology are rare. Time and generations of looters have picked their dead cities and derelict stations clean. Some believe the Protheans meddled in the evolution of younger races. The Hanar homeworld of Kadje, for example, shows clear evidence of former Prothean occupation. The presence of a former Prothean observation post on Mars has caused a rebirth of interventionary evolutionists among humans. These individuals believe the god myths of ancient civilizations are misremembered encounters with aliens. Though now extinct, the Therachni once threatened every species in Citadel space. Over 2,000 years ago, explorers foolishly opened a mass relay to a previously unknown system and encountered something never seen before or since, a species of spacefaring insects guided by a hive mind intelligence. Unfortunately, the Therachni were not peaceful, and the galaxy was plunged into a series of conflicts known as the Therachni Wars. Attempts to negotiate were futile, as it was impossible to make contact with the hive queens that guided the race from beneath the surface of their toxic homeworld.
Oh.
The emergence of the Krogan ended the Therachni Wars. Bred to survive the harshest environments, the Krogan were able to strike at the queens in their lairs and reclaim conquered council worlds. But when Krogan fleets pressed them back to their homeworld, the Therachni refused to surrender, and the Krogan eradicated them from the galaxy. After the Geths secure a location, they round up and
we've already seen this.
Varan are omnivores, with a preference for living prey. Originally native to the Krogan homeworld of Tuchanka, they are, like most life from Tuchanka, savage, clannish, and consummate survivors. They are pack hunters when vulnerable prey is readily available, and become scavengers when outnumbered or outclassed. Their supreme adaptability, vicious demeanor, and rapid breeding cycle have made them ubiquitous and dangerous pests on many worlds. Virtually everywhere the Krogan have been, Varan infestations have followed, wreaking havoc with the native ecology. The Krogan have had a love-hate relationship with Varan for millennia, alternately fighting them for territory and embracing them as treasured companions. To this day, Krogan raise them as beasts of war. One of the common subgenus of Varan has metallic silver scales, leading to the rather unusual nickname, fish dogs.
Makes sense.
The homeworld and capital of humanity is entering a new golden age. The resource wealth of a dozen settled colonies and 100 industrial outposts flows back to Earth, fueling great works of industry, commerce, and art. The great cities are greening, as arcology skyscrapers and telecommuting allow more efficient use of land. Earth is still divided among nation-states, though all are affiliated beneath the overarching banner of the Systems Alliance. While every human enjoys a longer and better life than ever, the gap between rich and poor widens daily. Advanced nations have eliminated most genetic disease and pollution. Less fortunate regions have not progressed beyond 20th century technology and are often smog-choked, overpopulated slums. Sea levels have risen 2 meters in the last 200 years, and violent weather is common due to environmental damage inflicted during the late 21st century. The past few decades, however, have seen significant improvement due to recent technological advances.
And with that, I'll leave it there. So until next time, all the best, and I hope you enjoyed.